Good evening, everyone. A warm
This meeting is
okay,
being
the
recorded.
team recording the session. A very warm welcome to the Creative Arts Academy. And today is a very, very special day because we have been contemplating this session since a long time. And the moment since we've been contemplating is the moment when Baisali Chatterjee Dutt's new release came out, and that is Three is a Lonely Number. This is an Amazon Kindle book, and Baishali will share with us. We do have the links over there, and I would request the team in case in this live we have not put the link, kindly put the link over there also. She will further share with you how to go about it. And today is all about what goes on behind writing the book. Why this book? Why not something else? How did the story come to her? And what has her journey been as an artist? And this is a very dear session for me, especially because I've had the pleasure of having Baishali as my colleague for more than a decade at the Creative Arts Academy. I've known her as a person, as an artist, as a woman, as a mother, a wife, a friend, and it's been, just to say the least, that it's been a revelation at many times, most of the time, and also a lot of sharing and bonding that we have gone through while creating all the pieces that we did together. Today, we start a series called Untold Story. I wanted to look at the stories behind the creation, what goes on behind creating something, what goes on behind creating these stories that the writers create, or a visual artist creates, or a theater artist create. But first and foremost, the writers. I want to address them. And here we are. Welcome, Vishali. And you are a part of the TCA family, so this is very much home for you.
Of
But
course.
many congratulations on the release of this amazing book.
Thank you so much, Raman. Thank you so much for doing this. And we have been talking about it for a couple of months now. So I'm really happy that we can finally do this.
Yes, yes. So I think that the audience who may have joined us already would be very happy to hear a couple of excerpts from the book so that they get a sneak peek into the book, and that may motivate them, and that should motivate them into going to Amazon and buying it on Amazon Kindle. So over to you, Vishali, first, or do you want me to read this excerpt first, which comes
I
earlier in
think
the
you
book?
read that. I think you read the chosen excerpt first because mine comes a little later in the book.
Hmm.
So why
So
don't you?
before we even read the excerpt, would you like to tell our audience what the book is about?
See, I don't want to give too much away about the story, but it is a love triangle. Here are the things that everybody needs to know. It's about a love triangle, um, with a bit of a surprise, with a bit of a twist, and it's written from everyone's perspective. It's a novella in verse. That means each chapter is actually a poem written in free verse. And it's also a bit of a hybrid novella because there are also dialogues in the poems as well. So
Hmm.
it's poetry and dialogue all together in a small little novella that we call Three is a Lonely Number. And you can finish it in an hour and a half flat if you sit with the
Yes,
book.
that's what I did, and I did it again last night. So I'm very happy to do it. I must say something that you've mentioned, that novella in a poetry form. I think it also helps the reader feel the emotions in a different manner that you do not do when it's written in straight prose, when a novel goes on in a storytelling format, in a straight format. But the reason that it has been written in a poetic form makes you feel the emotions and go deeper into it, take that pause, or flow in the rhythm of it, feel the lyricism of the moment, Also, you know, how you have spaced it out on the pages, which we can, I think, talk about later, or do you want to talk about it now?
We can talk about it whenever. So
Okay, so we can talk
anytime.
about it after
Yeah,
we share the excerpt, that how it has
sure,
been
sure.
designed and how it has been printed. So added to the poetry part of it, the designing of it, or the placing and the printing of it has also added a lot to it. So here we are. If all of you are watching, and if you're not, please get up, bring your cup of coffee or tea. I have mine here, and I think Vishali ma'am also has hers. I saw
Absolutely.
it. So
Yeah.
nothing like a coffee cup and a winter evening, and we are sharing about a book. Um, this is chapter 4. The book is also written about lockdown, how these three people explore or reflect or delve into their relationship during the lockdown, the separation part of it, the loneliness part of the relationship, which it says, you know, three is a lonely number, makes them, um, you know, pause and think about where they stand in the relationship and how slowly it takes so many different turns. Here we go. 2 weeks of the lockdown, done and dusted. 2 weeks into the lockdown, and loneliness had turned to solitude. 2 weeks into the lockdown, her heart had calmed down from nerve jangling alarm clock to sudden cuckoo clock blips. One pot meals, Agatha Christie, Shorodindu Bandyopadhyay, Netflix, and Amazon Prime. Movie marathons. Conversations with cousins, occasional video chats with friends, and a reunion with her once beloved but long abandoned ghungroos. She had timidly approached them to see if they could be friends again. The conversations were initially stilted, but they slipped into their old lingo, and soon enough were making music again. You never really forget a tune. You might skip a beat or suddenly go off key, but the music can never be fully erased. Dha tirkir dha tirkir thunna, dha tirkir tha tirkir thunna, dha tirkir tha tirkir thunna, dha tirkir tha tirkir thunna. Later at night, as she immersed herself in a glass of red while swimming through a crooked house, a message flashed on her screen. Social distancing, I understand, but why are you distancing yourself from me? Please, please take my calls. Please. Followed by, I miss you. So, Vaishali, um, you know, the book explores, and I want you to read your excerpt after a few minutes. Um, the book explores a love triangle. There's also about parents and the complexities of relationship with parents and complexities of parents handling different siblings. You know, their generation, our generation, further the children, and also what the children are going through during the lockdown. My question first to you is, how did this book came into being? Why three is a lonely number?
Okay, so there's quite a long story behind this.
Lovely.
I have to be honest, this wasn't a book that I set out to write. Okay, it's a book that was just written. Um, Many people might know, especially people who write poetry, they probably know that April is Global Poetry Writing Month. Excuse me, sorry. So April is Global Poetry Writing Month, and it's really taken off in a big way all over the world. And there are lots of writers groups and readers groups and book reading clubs who give out prompts on a daily basis to help the writers along, to help the poets along. The idea is to write one poem a day. Okay, is to try and write one poem a day, and by the end of it, you should have 30 new poems, right? They may not all be great, but then you have a fresh batch of poems to work on, to craft, and I mean, like a fresh set of poems for you to work on, basically.
Right.
Okay, now since the lockdown had just started, and I had been trying to follow Global Poetry Writing Month for a couple of years. I kind of went overboard. I started following a number of pages on FB as well as Instagram, where poetry groups and writers groups were giving out daily prompts. There was this one particular one
Right.
called Ratio Orem on Facebook, and their daily prompts had a little twist to it. They gave letters. They were following the letters of the alphabet. All right.
Right.
So the
Right.
first day was obviously A. The second day was obviously B. Okay, a word with, they would give the word to you, mind you. Okay, so they gave the word, and somehow or the other, the word in some way or the other connected to the lockdown. And plus, we were also told to
Right.
try and write poems about our feelings during this lockdown period. So somehow or the other, the first two poems that I wrote with A and B, even without intending to, they had some kind of a connection. Okay, they were fresh pieces as far as I was concerned, but somehow they connected. And one of the comments that I got on day two from someone, one of the readers, is, "Nice. Is there a story somewhere?" And I decided, that's very interesting. Why not try and turn this into a story? Right? So even for me, every day the story would unfold. We would get the prompt in the morning. I take the whole day and think about it and write a new poem around the prompt, and try to make sure that it connected with the previous poem. And that's how this story came about. And by the end of it, I had 26 poems, a complete story.
Wow.
And surprise, surprise, the people who had started the page on Facebook, they were also launching a publishing house. So
Right.
their first book was called Isolocation. And it was a collection, it was an anthology of all the poems that were written on that page about the lockdown. And then they got in touch with me and said, "We'd like to turn your book, your set of poems into a book as well. Would
Oh,
you like, what do you think about it?" I wasn't going to pass up on that wonderful offer. So yeah, that's how this book came about.
wow. Um, well, it's like a dream come true for me because I remember how many times I've shared with you that it would be wonderful to publish your plays, and I really hope your poems get published. So when you shared that this is happening, and then it finally happened, it was almost like, because you don't only live through your dreams, you live through the dreams of your spouse, your children, your friends, and I mean, it's a
Of course,
matter of
absolutely.
equal joy when something happens for someone close to you or a loved one. So it's almost like a dream come true for me. So I'm reeling in the same joy. But
Thank you. Thank you.
coming to you know, it really captures the texture or the sense of loneliness or that aloneness during the lockdown. And the excerpt that you read yesterday during the Insta Live, the sounds. And I think the sounds also become heightened when we are alone because there's a pause. There's no noise of so many people chattering or so many noises around us. So we just become aware of every little thing that happens around us. But the sounds that you have mentioned in chapter 3 or poem 3, are also the sounds of the heartbeat, the skipping of the beat, or what the heart is feeling at that point of time. The, you know, complete desolation, or whatever she could be going through. I mean, there can be so many layers we can interpret it. Tell us something about, uh, yes, they did prompt you, with the alphabets, and with that, let's do something about lockdown, and you were supposed to write about lockdown. So what, as a writer, your experience has been about lockdown? How did that feed into the book? And my question still would be, it's never as easy as that someone has given you a prompt and the poem flowed, because I will write something completely different if I was given a word, right? Because that is my story at that point of time. So I will again go back to why three is a lonely number. With a three, why not just three children, or why not just 3 days, or whatever, what I'm just saying. And if it was lonely, then maybe that loneliness can go towards hope, which it does. The book also kind of floats towards that. So my question to you is also about the story, and how did lockdown feed into the book for you as a writer?
So that is a very pertinent question, because these are lockdown poems, definitely. I think this is something that we were discussing yesterday, and maybe even when we met a couple of months ago. How initially, because we didn't realize how severe the problem was, yes, people were dying, there were terrible things happening all over the world, and we realized that we needed to go into this lockdown situation for everyone's safety and for our own. So when we went into it with a sense of, okay, we need to do this for the betterment of the world, for the betterment of society, and
Absolutely.
if we do this, things will get better. Okay. And when we went into it, so there was that sense of, all right, this is something that we have to do. How can we best utilize this time, or how can we best make, I mean, keep ourselves from being sane, I mean, from losing our sanity. How can we stay sane? How can we help each other? What can we do? So I think those questions were going on in everyone's mind, and everybody found something or the other to ground them, right? So if you notice, initially in the first couple of months of the lockdown, people were taking courses online, people were experimenting in the kitchen and sharing photographs, recipe groups had started, people were dusting off gurus, like, my protagonist. Okay, there were lots
Absolutely.
of people who were going back to their old hobbies. Family time also started taking center stage, playing board games with your children, or listening to stories from your parents. So there was this sense of, we have to survive this, we will survive this, and we'll do anything to survive this. Let's make the best of, let's make the most, and let's make the best of this time that we have. It was only as things got worse that we realized that this didn't seem to be getting any better.
Hmm.
And that's when it started, playing with our mind, with our emotional state, uh, with our sanity. And in fact, the poem that I am going to read out to you, it is it's about the effect of lockdown on your children. The little boy in this poem is 5 years old, but this was based upon something that my own younger son went through, because he was hating it,
Right.
because it wasn't natural. It's not natural it's still not natural what we're going through. Children need to go outside and play. Children need to meet their friends. We need to meet our friends. Man is a social animal.
Absolutely.
So there were times when people would break down, right?
Completely. Yeah.
So this particular poem, I think, kind of captures what this lockdown did to not just children. I think, I mean, like,
Vishali, your computer got frozen. All right. Vishali's computer is frozen for the moment, and we'll wait for her. But I think while we wait for her, At least at the risk of not asking the author herself, I can start a poem that we already read yesterday at Insta to entertain you while she tries to log back. And this is poem 3. The phone rang again. His name flashed on the screen again. It was the 5th time today. She carried on chopping the vegetables. Chop, chop, chop. Each sound of the knife meeting the cutting board with a swish, with a swoosh, thwack, as she went through the aloo first, the garlic next, and the tomatoes now. Pushed his name against her eardrums. Nishant. A soft start, a hard end. Ni Shant, Ni Shant, Ni Shant. Swoosh, thwack, swoosh, thwack, swoosh, thwack. Why was she so angry? She knew what was what when she stepped into this affair. It was on her terms. Why did things feel like a thwack thwack now? The last tomato done. The phone rang again. This time, she answered it. May I request the team to kindly call up ma'am and let me know what's happening? Are you okay? I've called you so many times. I'm worried about you. How are you doing? I was chopping vegetables. Sorry. Are you okay for food? Do you have enough? Are they delivering to your place? God, it's lockdown. It's okay. I'm okay. I'm coping. I miss you. I hate not being able to see you, touch you, hold you. How are your kids? Silence, a beat, a pause, the sound of a breath being exhaled. His. Then, don't. That's not fair. Listen, I've got to go now. I need to finish chopping the rest of these vegetables. We'll talk later. Okay? Bye. Click. Silence. A beat. Pause. The sound of a breath being exhaled. Hers. She looked at the chopping board and at what was left to cut. Damn. Onions. My God, when it stops at onions, it's quite something. And the sounds and the pauses that she creates over there, they kind of, okay, the team says, what happened? Meeting session is invalid. How is it possible? Yeah, please check. This is the link and she's already logged in. So the session should be, oh, she's right here. Okay. So what I was saying, that the pause and the sounds that she has created really capture the feeling of the lockdown and the loneliness all intertwined into one. Hi, Baisali, welcome back. So what I did, would you like to do it a landscape the way it was?
Okay.
Yeah. You've logged in from the phone now?
From the phone now, yeah.
Achha, something must have happened to the laptop.
No, it was showing that the meeting session has timed out. And the session, what is happening?
Oh.
Yeah, it was showing that the meeting session has timed out, so therefore you've been logged off. And each time I try to rejoin,
There's something wrong with your thing, because this session stays on 24 hours.
I know. So I was quite surprised when I saw that.
But I'm glad you're here. So what I did, I took the liberty of, without your permission, of reading the chapter 3 that you've already read. I knew that I was not taking any risk. We've already revealed it to the audience. So what I was sharing, that, the sounds that you have created over there and the pause in between them really encapsulates the feeling of the loneliness and the lockdown and the silence and the reflection. Would you like to share something about that? Or I think you were still completing your earlier thought, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I had just started with the poem. So maybe I'll read this and then we can connect the two, since it's about.
Yes, I was saying that if we could complete the sound bit, because I've already shared it with the audience. So if you want to share something about the sound, and then we come to the children and the lockdown.
Okay, so one thing that I noticed during the lockdown is that I think our senses were heightened during the lockdown. I think we started paying attention to things that we would take for granted. Okay, so I, for example, started paying more attention to the tree outside our window, to the park next to my house. So I would look for flowers. I would look for birds in the trees. Okay, I would listen to bird song. Things that were already existing, things that were already there, but which I never actually stood and mindfully paid attention to. So I think that's why this thing about this swoosh thwack sound, we were cooking, right? We were cooking every day, 2-3 meals a day. So I actually noticed that these were the sounds that I was making when I was chopping vegetables on the cutting board. And it's not like I don't cook. I do cook on and off. I do hear those sounds, but I don't hear those sounds. You know what I mean?
It's like many times, they are heightened many times many notches.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I think our senses were heightened during the lockdown period. And I tried to use that in the poems as well.
Yes. And there was another reflection which you shared yesterday. We'll come back to that. But before, we want to hear this excerpt from you. And you were also sharing about what children were going through during the lockdown.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. So, Nishant stood in the middle of his younger son's tantrum. The tears weighed down his feet, and he couldn't wade through the raw emotions of a 5-year-old. It wasn't easy living through something like this. He had neither the life experience nor an instruction manual to guide his boys, and yet he knew that they were coping very well, showing a resilience and patience beyond their combined age of 13. I just want to go outside. Just there. The little boy sobbed, pointing to the window. Then he lay down on the marble floor, trying to squeeze out a hug from it, or some warmth at the very least. The stupor finally cracked, and Nishant was free to move his limbs once more. He picked up this heart piece and cradled him as gently as the first time they'd met, and whispered into his ear, "Me too, Babu. I want to go outside too." So.
And surprisingly, when I was reading it again yesterday, I could almost see Avnish. And I'm glad to know that, that's what your thought was, or that's where the inspiration came from, looking at both your boys during the lockdown. But coming back to the sound bit, Baisali, you were referring yesterday in Insta Live that how your being in theater and being close to the performing arts has helped you weave this soundscape in your writings.
Okay, so I think that was more than the soundscape. It was about the pauses that we were talking about.
Right.
We were talking about the placement of the words and why I write. Yeah. We were talking about why I write like that. Okay.
Right. So I will just share with the audience that this whole book, it's not written straight. You know, even if you write poetry, it's written straight. But a lot of writers these days use this, and in Three is a Lonely Number, Baisali has done a wonderful job of spacing the words. So suddenly you will find a pause between two words, or one word paused very beautifully, spread over one line, or one line spread in a certain symmetrical or asymmetrical way on the page. So reading itself becomes like a performance that you are delving into, or an art form that you're experiencing yourself firsthand. Also, what happens that you feel that pause much more, and that's why I say that I'm going to urge you 100 times during this session to go to Amazon Kindle and buy the book, because if you haven't read it, you are missing something, because I've read it thrice already. So over to you, Baisali, to share the pause and the breath that the character takes and we take with them. And you know, the thing that I shared from third passage, which very beautifully says that uh, you know, a silence, a beat, a pause, the sound of a breath being exhaled, his, the sound of a breath being exhaled, hers. You know, so, and that's what we feel. Along with that, it's almost like the sound of the breath, it's ours.
Yeah.
That is being exhaled.
Yeah.
So over to you. Yes, let's reflect on this pauses that we find in your writings, the breath, and where would you put it in your journey as an artist?
So this is, I've always written poetry like this. Okay. I mean, from a very young age, I started writing poetry when I was 11 years old, maybe even younger in school when I was first introduced to haiku and writing limericks and things like that. I enjoyed playing with words. And, but I very soon, without even learning about it or reading about it or any kind of, mentoring at 11, I just started writing a lot of poetry that was free verse. Okay. They weren't, I didn't really write too much rhyme. And as I delved more and more into my writing, what I started listening to the voice in my head, or the voices in my head. And one thing that I do is now more than ever, especially, I mean, like the last maybe 2 decades or so, I think my theater background has really what's the word I would use? I mean, like not just helped me with my style of writing, but kind of pushed me to write the way I do write, right? Because like I was talking about, you know, I mean, like when I'm writing a poem, and even if I'm writing a poem that suddenly come to me spontaneously, I do try to listen to the flow in my head, okay? And when I'm mindfully writing a poem, if I'm writing a poem given on, say, a prompt, or I've been asked to write a certain poem, I do listen to the pauses. I do listen to the sounds in my head, because at the end of the day, I'm also a performer. And I tend to write my poems the way I would read them out. Okay. So the way you see my poems displayed on a page, it's because I would give a pause here. I would stretch out this word there. I would speak quickly here. And so that's why the spacing and the placement of words on a page, because I'm actually very much, they're very purposeful. They're very purposeful, the way I place my words.
I'm muted. They really kind of, you know, fulfill their purpose, because that's what happens to us when we were reading it. Now, coming back to you, Baisali, as a person, what happened to you during the lockdown? Have you had the time to reflect on it? Did you go through various journeys? Did you write, not the prompts, not all the wonderful workshops that you gave and you took, not all the things that you were doing for someone? Did you do random writing just for yourself? And even if you didn't write, were you able to, during these 2 years, which is a pretty long time, and it still seems like a vacuum, like a ionic pause, that we've all gone through, or we still going through, it's like it's so endless. Um, what happened to Bishali during, and then I want to reflect on the journey before this, but what happened to Bishali during these 2 years? What are the various emotions you went through? Yeah, please, over to you.
Okay. So one thing that I tried to do, like I shared with you, I think at one point in time, we were all looking at ways to make the lockdown bearable. So for me, poetry has always been a savior. So apart from the writing prompts, I started exploring haikai literature again, which is basically Japanese short form poetry. So I started attending a lot of workshops on haiku literature and other Japanese short form poetry writing, such as tanka and haiga. And so it's been a wonderful learning experience for me. And I really, now I find myself really immersed in this literature. And I think I'm writing more and more short form poetry these days than I used to, which is quite funny because my poems are actually pretty long. I mean, like, yeah.
And we
Because
enjoy them quite a lot.
because my poems generally tend to tell stories. Okay. So, in fact, I remember when I was asked to send in some poems for an anthology, the editor specifically said, please send me 7 of your short, and kind of, the word short was in bold and underlined. Please send me 7 of your short poems for consideration for the anthology. Right. So I actually had to, delve deep into my stock of poems and pick out a couple of poems that were, basically half a page to 1 page max long. And haiku is, oh my God, it's just been such an amazing journey because those 3 lines that we have to pour ourselves into, I mean, like, they look, it might seem big deal. I mean, like, it's just a 17 syllable poem or a 3-line poem, but oh my God, there's so much you have to keep in mind. There's so much to know about Japanese aesthetics. I really enjoyed learning this, and I'm still learning. I'm still a student of haikai, and it's a journey that I've been enjoying. So this is a journey. This is a personal journey that's been going on for the last 2 years. That's helped me with my writing and my writing practices. But if you take that away, if you move to Baisali the mother,
okay,
it was really tough because in the first year, my eldest son was in a very critical year in his school life. It was class 12. Okay. We were so unsure of what was going to happen regarding the exams, the final exams. They had to apply for colleges. Everything was topsy-turvy. Nobody knew what was happening. Nobody knew what was going to take place. Nobody knew what colleges were thinking. It was a bit of a nightmare. So I got sucked into that nightmare. I mean, like, not just, not just for my own son, but, like seeing all these children with question marks on their faces, wondering what's going to happen to their future. So that was a really terrible time. Okay. Then things sorted themselves out, but it wasn't easy. And again, I'm going through the same thing again, because this year my younger one is giving his ICSE. So again, that uncertainty, again, that, the rules just keep changing. So as a mother, it's been very difficult trying to keep pace and trying to mother your child, through something that you have never lived through. So that was basically my journey. I mean, like, so my own emotions and, sadnesses and lonelinesses aside, I am more taken up by what it is that the children have been going through and are still going through.
So you feel that the mother in you took over during this time rather than your personal reflections as Baisali, the woman, or
Oh, very,
Baisali, the person?
very much, very, very much, very, very much.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Okay. And what is, I mean, when you look at a relationship, when you explore something like three is a lonely number, or sometimes, I had a dialogue in one of my plays, as you know, that I kind of randomly pen down a lot of dialogues when I'm uh, producing my plays. So many years ago. So it's like, it's, um, you can be alone and know that you are, rather than be with someone and feel lonely, you know. So this kind of pauses and talks about that the two people, you know, all of us who are married and everyone who's married or in relationship, we're committed and we are two of us. But a lot of times we're not connected, we're not together. So what happens to the loneliness over there? Uh, During the lockdown, people felt it much more. The domestic violence increased. Yesterday, I was talking to Taran about it, and even if it wasn't the domestic violence, the loneliness increased. Those two people who are locked in together, especially when there was complete lockdown and you could not go out, you could not get that respite of living in this illusion that everything is fine. It was right there in front of you. And a lot of people went through that, when they are together and yet they are experiencing that aloneness, that loneliness. So this book, of course, explores a different kind of loneliness. But have you ever thought of, I mean, a lot of your poems do explore that loneliness of two people being together, and yet there's so much vacuum and space. It's like, hum kehte hain, give me space, give me space. Also, I think I had written a dialogue about that. And sometimes there's so much space that there's nothing but space left. The relationship has gone out. And that's what's happened in so many of the relationships these days. How would you reflect on that?
See, I've always believed that solitude is welcome, loneliness is not. Solitude is something that you seek.
You
And
choose. It's like,
yeah, and as not just as someone who writes poetry, but also as someone who is an introvert. I've always been an introvert, right? Solitude has often been, something that I've actively sought out.
completely.
My mother used to. My mother was very, very fond of saying that. I mean, like growing up, I never. Sometimes I'd forget I had a daughter in the house because I was always so quiet. I was always so silent. I was just I mean, like reading books all the time, all the time, all the time. So, and then I realized that when I was when I was studying in Delhi, I'm a student from JNU. So we lived in so our rooms were shared rooms, okay, two people per room. And it was always nice to have a roommate. It was great having a roommate. And, especially a roommate who let you to your own devices. And then of course there would be times when, say, your roommate has gone away for the weekend, or when your roommate has probably is taking a short break and visiting home and things like that. So I would cherish that time. I would have the room to myself. But then whenever I felt, so I would cherish that solitude. But whenever I felt lonely, I knew that all I had to do was open the door and go, just walk into somebody else's room for a short adda, or I mean, like, go out and get a cup of tea, and it was all okay. But here we didn't have recourse to that, right? So I think, see, every marriage is different, right? I mean, like, it changes from couple to couple to couple, and nobody really knows what's
Changes from year to year, from month to month, kind of.
absolutely,
Also,
absolutely. I mean,
And,
I'm not
but that
saying,
only happens if you're consciously living and you want to evolve and you want the relationship to evolve. That can only happen then.
see, the thing is, we fall into routines, right? We fall into routines. And here, so even if, you find that you don't have as much to say as you once did, once upon a time, it's still okay, because, you went about the business of living and the business of getting on with it on a day-to-day basis, in a, from day to day. But then things changed, right? With the lockdown, I mean, like, you were forced to finally be with this person who you've been married to for X number of years. And that's when it hits you that we've run out of things to talk about. Or it's the same, it's like, aaj ki khabe, and, or, shall we watch a movie? And beyond that, there's really, really nothing. And I think that got frightening for a lot of people, that even though they weren't physically alone, they still felt alone.
It's like coming together made them aware of the spaces between them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Baisali, coming to your earlier journey, as you said that you were a quiet girl, you've already shared, and you read a lot, but you were also living in Bangalore. I came to know you as in theater, and theater has played a huge role, and you have contributed a lot to theater as an actor, director, facilitator, playwright. So what has that journey been like? When did it start, and how has it been for you? And if you could share a few things about that journey.
So that started when I was in school as well. I mean, like, my poetry writing journey started then. And I think, my, I wouldn't say acting journey, because I don't really have such a huge career to speak of.
But Baisali is one of the very powerful actors that I know. I have seen her
so sweet for saying that.
I've seen her in the Red Curtain plays. I have seen her in plays directed by Shuktara, which are the ones I think, and the Mother. What was it called? That
was called, yeah, that was an adaptation of this play by Carolyn Keene called My Mother Said I Never
Ma
Could. Ma Boleche Korishna. So we did it. It was done in 3 languages. So Bengali title was Ma Boleche Korishna.
It was so strong, such a strong portrayal. And then I have seen you in my own play, Bavre Man Ke Sapne. I mean, within few days, you rustled up that character, and we did it when we received the award at National Center for Performing Arts in Mumbai. So she's an extremely powerful actor, and watch out for her. And I'm only wishing her luck that she performs more and more. I really hope that she performs 3 is her only number, and she can do it as a solo piece. So
we'll definitely talk about it. Yeah, definitely. I'd love to actually. So I think being an introvert and being the quiet, shy mouse, and then also with everything that you go through, introverts normally have a reason for being such introvert. Yeah, they may be natural born introverts, but they take in a lot as well. So living through whatever it is that we're living, there's a lot of stuff going on in your head, and sometimes you may want to say something, but you're just so shy or so scared of wanting to speak out, using your voice. I found that it was easier to use my voice on stage, because at that point in time on stage, I was never Baisali. I was always somebody else. So I've always enjoyed pretending to be other people, and putting on somebody else's skin, walking in someone else's shoes, and transforming myself into these other fascinating characters, and quite often getting a chance to say probably things that I'd like to say through another's voice. So it started in school. I realized that, I really loved being on stage. But again, the introvert in me would never allow me to push for roles that were bigger and brighter and better. I was always happy being, okay, fine, ye kafi hai, or this is enough, So even now, I'm not a pushy person at all. I will not go up to someone and say, can you give me a role, please? Or, you know what, I'd be perfect for this. I know you're directing this play, or I know you're thinking about doing this movie, and I think I'd be perfect for this role. I just have such a terrible time asking for things. So I've been happy with whatever has come my way. I've been very, very lucky to do some amazing plays with some amazing people. One of my favorites, personal favorites, is of course Mahavicca Krishna, like you mentioned. It's one of the highlights, I feel, of my acting career. Another brilliant surprise was doing Baare Man Ke Sapne, because the Hindi scared me. Okay, and then
Right.
you of course had faith in me and said, no, you can do it, you should do it. And then this task of thinking about character backstories. So I said, okay, why would a person like me in this kind of a family who comes from this kind of a background, why would I speak such accent in Hindi? And so I sat and thought about it, and then overnight I created this backstory to this character, and it worked. I mean, like, we were able to pull it off. So there's such a lot of creativity that goes into creating your own characters, right? The words might be there for you, but okay, the words might be somebody else's, but the voice, the emotions, the backstories, the thoughts, they're completely yours. So I think that has been my theater journey.
Right, but you've missed a huge part of your playwriting, Baisali, which I feel is a huge contribution. Why I say that? Because India has a very big vacuum when it comes to playwriting. I mean, we are such a huge population, and yet we can count our playwrights on our tips, also for children and adults both. And the creative arts, in our own small way, as you know, and you've contributed to it, that we have always looked at original writings. We've never taken scripts and straight away, read them and done it. Even when we picked up Shakespeare, you interwove that audience part. When we took Tashe Desh, we turned it upside down, made it into puppetry thing, and then we called it Waiting in the Wings, because we wanted to talk about the system of education and its impact, and how parents are looking at it. So coming back to your journey as a playwright, you've written plays like Under the Sea, which we did at the studio with little tiny tots, then with the little grown-ups, we did Tail Behind the Tails. You wrote Waiting in the Wings, of course, the audience part in the Midsummer Night's Dream, and then your favorite and everyone's favorite, While We Go Sailing, because we invested so many emotions in it. Not that emotions were not invested in, Waiting in the Wings or others, because some were more struggle. Remember the Tashe-based struggle that we went through?
Oh, absolutely.
And then we wrote it, and then we kept it aside, then we picked it up again. So it was like crazy process. So if you could reflect a little bit or share a little bit with the audience on the journey as a playwright, and how it has molded you as an artist, or what it means to you as an artist.
I think it goes into my love for storytelling. Okay, because all art is essentially a form of storytelling. So whether you're painting a picture, or whether you're writing a poem, or whether you're dancing, or whether you're singing, everything requires storytelling. So I think that is where, as a playwright, I think I've been able to but it sounds funny when I say as a playwright, as someone who wrote plays.
No, Baisali, that's where sometimes, if you do not recognize that you are a playwright, maybe you can run away from the responsibility. So I will keep reminding you, you're a playwright and you need to write more plays, and publishers, those plays need to get published. So please ask us and we will give them to you. We need to publish these wonderful plays that are sitting with us since years, and I've been telling Baisali that we have to publish them. So please come forward. Let's publish them together. Over to you, Baisali.
Right. So it's always been the craft of storytelling. that has definitely attracted me to writing plays. And then, of course, working with those children. I mean, like, children are such vessels of purity and magic and light, and to see them create those create those characters, to get it, to understand and to deliver, I think that is something that has really helped me on my journey, because I have really enjoyed writing for children and then directing the children. So that's so right. So I haven't really written any plays for grown-ups, come to think of it. Okay, even the plays that I've directed in the para for Durga Puja and things like that, I did write a couple of me being a person, I mean, like a Bengali, but Bengali is my mother tongue, but it was never my second language. I never learned it in school, but still writing small little plays that we directed and put up in the para pandals during Pujo. It's always been very joyous. It's always been a very joyful thing for me to do. Sorry. Okay, I might sneeze. Sorry.
God bless. God.
Thank you. Okay. So I have enjoyed, I think the reason I have enjoyed writing the plays that I've written is because I knew that they were going to be performed by children, and there's a certain joy that's attached to watching children perform. I think it really is as simple as that. Okay. And then, of course, when you get to do when you get to share your favorite stories with the children, when you get to share your favorite playwrights with the children, like when we went through Tashe Desh, when we were, when we decided to do Tashe Desh as is by Rabindranath Tagore, the children just weren't interested.
We had an exodus. 20
it broke
left us.
we had children actually leave, and that broke me as well as infuriated me in a way, because I was like, why will they not? Yes. I mean, like, this is a play written by a genius, by an icon. And then when I sat down and read the play, I realized that, okay, fine, we need to approach this from a lens where children understand what people were trying to say, what Tagore was trying to say, what he meant to do with this. And once we decided to, flip our lens and then present it to the children, there was such an immediate connection. Okay, the same with Shakespeare. When we found the first time we decided to introduce Shakespeare to the children, it was all through excerpts. Okay, and where the children found their own backstories and the motivations behind the characters' actions, and that was a joy to see them come up with their own interpretations.
Yeah, I think when we work in collaboration with the actors, when the improvisations are going on an everyday basis, the way the story unfolds or the characters come forward or the new layers are formed, it's quite an interesting journey that the writer and the actors take together.
Yeah, absolutely. Goes without saying. So
true. And I also, I remember when you wrote Under the Sea and Tail Behind the Tail, even though it was written for younger kids, but I also must say that I have seen your characters evolve from play to play. How the weaving of them and how you were chiseling each character as you went forward to the next play. And I'm waiting for your next one. The moment this opens up, you have to give us our next play. I don't know.
We started working on it. Remember, it's just that. And then
which one was it, Baisali?
The one on the apple tree.
Yes.
We started working on it.
So guys, look forward to it. We already have one. Now, coming back to working as a facilitator, and that's the point you picked up in theater, working with children, and sometimes you've given classes to our adult women group also. How do you think it affects an artist's journey? What does it do to you as an artist when you're facilitating a class, even if they are juniors or senior kids or adults? Do you think it affects you as an artist? Do you think it inspires you? What is that space for you?
Oh, absolutely. But then that's only because I myself think of myself as a lifelong student of the arts. So it's one of the main reasons why I don't call myself. I can't introduce myself as a poet. I can't introduce myself as a playwright, because I'm like, have I done enough to be worthy? It's like, ustad or maestro or panditji in
Right.
classical music, or vidushi. I mean, like, no, but I mean,
Well, my
I'm
joke
not
with the,
self-confirmed.
my joke with the the music people, Sunanda Sharma or Bhai Baldeep ji, always is, you guys are great, you have Pandit and Vidushi in front of your names, and we have nothing, theatre walas have nothing, we have no Vidushi, no. So I think we are good, we are good in our space, because we begin again. Our theatre is also ephemeral, it finishes every day, and we start from scratch.
Start all over again. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
over to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so I was saying that I accord, somebody I accord the word poet with the same kind of reverence that I would accord to a title like Panditji or Ustadji. So which is why I hesitate to call myself poetry. I mean, like, I'm sure you've noticed that that whenever I talk about myself, I say I also write poetry. So okay, I think I'm straying from the original. What was the original question again, Raman? I mean, if you can just bring me back.
It is funny. So,
Yeah.
original question. I'm also kind of feeling that, am I forgetting it? So we can go to the next one. No. This is a lovely pause, where both the actors have forgotten their lines. And
Yeah, both the actors have forgotten their lines.
But I love
so we improvise.
So we have to improvise now. Yeah. Improvisation is that while working with the children and working as a facilitator, you were sharing with us that what is that space for you? And you said that I'm a lifelong learner.
Right.
So the
So
thing
what I
is
get
that,
from the children, so basically I'm learning from them. So whether I've been working, so whether I'm on the floor with children or whether I'm on the floor with your women actors, okay, there's a give and take. There's a synergy that's happening. Okay, I share what I know. I share the little potly of knowledge that I have, and I open it up and I give it to them. And in the process, I also, my potly becomes bigger because I get so much back myself. Okay, so whether it's from the perspective of viewing a character through another lens, or saying a dialogue in a different way, or rethinking a situation or a character, there's a lot of give and take. So that has been a very, very enjoyable process of my journey as a facilitator.
right. My next question would be, you're an artist and you're a woman. What does this gender, or what does being a woman mean to you? A lot of us these days, children feel that I neither feel like a man or a woman. I would rather that, you call me they. It's not that not all of them are transgender. Not all of them are, trying to say that I'm a gay or I'm a lesbian. It's just that they don't like the norms in which we try to fit in a woman and fit in a man. A lot of youngsters I know, or from the family, close friends, they've chosen to be called they, just because they want to work against this blocking of be what does it mean to be a man, or what does it mean to be a woman. But coming to you, what does being a woman mean to you? How do you look at your gender, or does your gender define your work, or how you look at your work? Does your gender define your feelings in terms of when you're writing something, when you're acting, when you're observing life or experiencing life? um, yeah.
Um, so I don't know what else to be other than a woman. Okay, it is very much an inherent part of my mental makeup, my genetic makeup, my physical makeup, everything. Okay, am I subscribing to societal norms? When I say I'm a woman because this is what is expected of a woman, or this is what makes a woman, and this is what makes a man. So I don't know. I really haven't thought about it because I have personally not felt like anything else other than a woman. And so my life experiences have definitely informed my journey as as an artist. Okay, so whether it's somebody who's written poetry or who's written plays or performed in plays, I am the sum of all my experiences, my life choices, and my living. So I do understand that people are trying to question these norms, and that's their journey. But my journey has very, very categorically been that of a woman. So but here's the thing, every woman's life is different. So the way I write or the way I perform, it is based upon my observations, it is based upon my experiences. Okay, and that is what I bring to the table when I'm writing or when I'm performing. So maybe there's somebody who also identifies as a woman, but whose life experiences have not been the same as mine. Okay, or who doesn't look the same as me, or who doesn't. So what my question is, what are these boxes? What do we need to tick off to say that, okay, I'm a woman and not a man, or I'm a man or not a woman, or I'm both, or I'm nothing? What are these boxes that that need to be ticked off? So, exactly. So when I think about it, this is what I think. This has been my journey as a woman. Okay, it's not your journey. It's not her journey. It's not her journey. This is my journey, and I very much identify as, a woman.
Also, my next question concerning this is, our generation, or let's say people like you and me, or you and me, as we know, or our generation, we're still very much the generation who thinks that, it's a woman's duty to look after the house, to look after what's cooking in the kitchen, or we're cooking ourselves, to look after the children, their homework, their exams, to see that the house is clean, to see that when the guests come, they are well served. The clothes are in place, they are ironed, they are washed, there's grooming, there's swapping, there's cleaning. And then there's the artist in us, or the professional in us, that's wanting to go out, do what we want to do. And the artist that's just bursting at seams to be expressed. Sometimes we do not even get those moments. Like I've seen you struggle, just like you might have seen me struggle with not getting just that much space for ourselves to even find those moments of expression. So how do you feel now in your life? We've gone through many stages. How do you feel now in your life in terms of balance? Are we still struggling with it? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I'm struggling because I suck at being a housewife. I'm terrible. I'm terrible. In fact, recently I was even told to my face, okay, I won't tell you who said this. It wasn't my husband. Somebody said, you're a Pitts is the housewife. Okay. And it was very lovingly said to me. It was very jokingly said to me.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it was a woman friend. I wouldn't be surprised at that if it was a woman friend.
So it cut deep, but at the same time, it was very, very true. Okay. I mean, like, I'm terrible. I'm terrible at, and despite being married for 20 years now, it's going to be 21 years next month, I'm still terrible at it. Okay. But that's just, so people are like, and this question that I hate, so what do you do all day? Right? Because okay, so what do you do all day? Because you're a part-time teacher.
The favorite question.
Okay, and writing happens in your free time. Okay, so you only go out for a couple of hours a day. So why is this like this, or why is that like that? And it's a question that I will never have an answer to. I will never have an answer to that question. It's not a question that I think I have rebelled against that question simply by being me. In the initial stage.
And how would you define me? What would be that me?
I just do what needs to be done, for me and for the people in the house, and get on with it. That's it. Yeah. So I mean, I'm telling you, if somebody like Marie Kondo came to this house to turn it upside down, oh my God, I think she would run away screaming and lose her Marie Kondo-ness, because my house is overflowing with books. The room that I'm sitting in, as you can see, there are books in front, behind
me. But let me tell the audience that Baisali has a wonderful home with beautiful artifacts around, and she is an amazing cook. You have to lick your fingers when you're eating food made by Baisali.
There's a reason behind that. I enjoy the act of cooking and feeding people, and in the process of cooking is very creative. So that's why I enjoy it.
So in your next play, we are going to bring in this cooking. Remember the improvisations that we were doing at one point of time, and we're going to explore 3 is a lonely number while you cook.
Why not? Absolutely.
And then you are going to serve that dish to the audience.
Done. Absolutely.
Right. So with that, I think we've kind of looked at, at least in a brief manner, the journey that you've had as a person or an artist. But before we leave the audience, I would like to ask you, what are you looking at further? I know as a friend that you've reduced your theater activities, and I'm just pining to pull you more into it. But I also want you to write, so I don't want you to pull you away from your writing. So that's me, kind of torn apart over there. But you want to focus more on your writing. This is what I know of the last 2 years. But what are you thinking of now? How are you looking at things, and what do you want to do? And which is the next book that you're writing?
Well, okay, so one by one. I miss theater a lot. I do miss it, but I think Zoom fatigue has really, really just washed all over me. Okay, taking theater classes over this OTP platform, it's just not working for me anymore. Okay, it makes me want to cry. Okay, but I still have to do it, and there's no joy in it. There's really no, and the reasons for that are numerous. Okay, but that doesn't mean that I have given up on theater completely. It's just that I miss the floor. I miss being on stage. I miss acting. So I don't know about writing a play right now immediately, because I'm just dying to get my acting chops back on again. I'm really done to sharpen my acting chops again.
Let's do this one.
So that is something that I'm really, really missing.
And which is the next book?
And the next book, right now, like I said, like I was mentioning earlier, I'm really, really concentrating on haikai right now. Okay, so I'm writing a lot of haiku, I'm writing a lot of senryu, writing a lot of haiga. So I'm exploring that at the moment. It's not like I don't
lovely to have a story in haiku.
That would be that would be another ball game altogether. That would be really another ball game altogether.
So beautiful. You just have one page, one haiku, and then you move on, and then
yeah.
Well, this book kind of has those moments,
Yeah.
And it's quite. I know you can do it. I know you can do it, and it'll be so unique. And also, this book, I feel that bigger publishers should pick up, and it should come in print, and it should be made available everywhere, because it's really one of the finest books written about the feelings of 3 people. Yes, everyone says that, but I try to tell everyone that I'm also honest. I don't bullshit. So I'm not pampering Baisali here, who's a very dear friend of mine. The reason I'm having this chat with her because I believe in this book. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've read it thrice, and I don't mind reading it again because it just makes me go through those layers of the relationship. What happens? I can just read it like a song, the way
It's
you
kind of
kind of
like what
play it
Sunil
on a
said
little.
to me. Sunil Bhandari, it's something that he said. He also read the book twice. He said the first time I just raced through it because I wanted to know what happened. Okay, because each
I
poem
did the same.
each poem ends at a cliffhanger, and you really want to know what happens in the story, what happens to these people. Okay, the three main characters, the side characters, and there are a lot of side characters in this little story of mine as well. So he said he raced through it the first time to just figure out the story. The second time he went back to sink into it, to enjoy the language, to enjoy the pauses, to enjoy the little moments, and to enjoy the writing. So, and as a writer, I don't think there can be a bigger compliment. And three people who have written, little pieces for my book, I'm so immensely grateful to them. Kiran Manral, Shoipat Mujumdar, and Sunil Bhandari, they've had such wonderful things to say about it. And these are things that you hope people will say about your writing. I mean, it's that deepest core of your heart where it's there, but you can't admit it to yourself, but it's beating over there. And then when people say, this is how I felt, then it just bursts through your heart and makes you feel that fine, I did what I wanted to do. So the fact that you feel this way about the book, that you've read it and you don't mind reading it again to enjoy the wordplay and to enjoy the nuances and to enjoy the little things, that really means a lot to me, Ramanjit. And I hope people who enjoy words, and I hope people who enjoy rhythm and who enjoy a little story to boot, okay, I hope they enjoy this book as well.
I'm sure they will. And I hope you very soon also explore the loneliness when two people are together. This is bordering on that because one of the relationships does have that vacuum. So we can explore layers of that.
Yeah.
And the presence of third in among two people is actually the presence of the space, the empty space.
Yeah.
So that becomes a character in itself.
Absolutely.
So, and then yet most of us who kind of are artists, or we kind of still idealize, this whole illusion of love, or that kind of companionship that we have, there's a reality that people live of where there can be so many spaces, and yet there's an illusion of how love is so much possible. So yeah, there are these lovely comments, which some of them team has posted here. Rupa Chakravarti Di was here throughout. She's just stepped out, and we had quite a few people. Only now I see the numbers that have gone down because they knew we are winding up. She says, many congratulations, dear Baisali, a fine author. Many will benefit from your unique crafting of free verse vis-a-vis the freedom of presentation.
Oh, how lovely.
Ipshita writes, an absolutely wonderful book, a sensitive issue presented with so much subtlety and elegance, just the way Baisali Dutt is.
So sweet, so wonderful.
And question from Abanti, our program officer. It is a very engaging read too. I have to agree. I had a small question. When you write it, mostly comes from your memory, the past, present, and speculative one. How do you club all these thoughts together? Do you keep a journal always? Is it okay to flow with thoughts?
Okay, so for this particular book, I mean, I was driven by the word of the day, but obviously, after a point in time, once I had created these characters, I knew I would have to have some kind of a basic idea of where I wanted the story to go. And I would somehow have to fit that story into the words that I would ultimately be given. And I'm sure people here by now have figured out that I ramble a lot. So, when I'm telling a story, I will suddenly go down path A and then, take off to path F and then, come back to path D before going back to path A. So even in my telling of a story, I do, shift chronologies as well. Okay. I do go into the past.
But
I
oscillation
yeah.
was really nice over here. Continue.
Yeah. Because it made sense. Somehow it fit with the story. Okay. So I wouldn't say it's random at all. When I'm writing that story, when I was writing that particular poem for the day, when I was writing that particular part for the day, I realized that, okay, fine. People need to know why she is like this, or people need to know how they met, because people need the backstories as well. And that's what you do when you go into the past, okay? And you do hope to understand, or at least to see a glimpse of what may lie in store for these characters. And you just hint at it because I haven't really spelled it out. And I hope, because the future, as cliched as it may sound, the future can be anything you want it to be, right? Yeah. So that's it. So you make.
And I love that last line. The imagery in the book is so beautiful. And I love this last line that kind of repeats itself very beautifully. And that is, or in fact, the whole last paragraph, but maybe we shouldn't read it.
No, I don't think so. Let's not give it away.
I suddenly saw it and it reveals a lot. So you have to buy the book if you want to read that last one. Okay. Then we have again, Rupadi says that a fine author, Baisali Chatterjee Dutt, many will benefit. Okay, I've read that one. And Sneha Jaiswal Shaw says that, Baisali ma'am, we are waiting for your new play. You're just superb. But I want to read some of this here. Love this exactement. Are we good enough to earn the title? But we are certainly good enough to aspire with diligence and inspiration. Kudos to my darling duo. That's Rupadi again. Vinita has been here. She says, a big congratulations, Baisali Dutt, on this book once again. You make it so relatable and we can live those characters through your words.
Thank you.
Then, Vinita is referring to one of our plays. And she says it was such an amazing play, Waiting in the Wings, because they all worked.
Right. Yeah, worked. Yeah.
Thank you, Vinita, and everyone for working in the production with us. Without you, we couldn't have done it.
Absolutely.
So many layers and so well written and acted out by the TCA kids. Yeah, I'm unable to read more. Sometimes it doesn't scroll that way, but it's over there for you. Please engage with the comments. And once again, audience, do you want to explain to the audience how to order the book?
It's very simple. You need to have Amazon Kindle, not your normal regular Kindle. You need to have the Amazon Kindle app. And then once you download the Amazon Kindle app, all you need to do is buy the book from Amazon. Okay, that's it. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that.
But the publishers who published it, Can you name them?
Oh, yes, absolutely. This is Ratio Orium, and they're based in Bombay. Okay, the publisher's name is Neerav Mehta, and my editor's name is Ishmeet Nagpal. Ishmeet was a wonderful, wonderful editor. She held my hand.
So I urge them and many bigger publishing houses to definitely look at the book and bring it in print for us so that we can hold it and we can rejoice in it. Baisali, thank you so much for taking out time, and we really look forward to your next play, your next story, your next haiku novella. We wish you best for that, and we also say that we are looking forward to it.
Thank you so much.
Great earnestness.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anything else you want to say to the audience before we leave?
No, just everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and do whatever it takes to make yourself happy, make the ones who you love happy.
Very important.
Yeah, and be kind. Be kind. We just need to be kind
Very
to each other. We need to be kind to each other. We need to be kind to our planet.
We need to
Let's
be kind to ourselves
kindness,
also.
and we need to be kind to ourselves as well. So
Yeah.
practice that kindness.
And to the planet, we all must. Not that, we've learned our lessons and then we go back to doing
Oh,
what we've been doing for centuries. So thank you everyone for being here. Please share this FB Live with others. Share the news about the book with your friends and family. It will really make them feel happy. And it's a lovely story. Also, stay safe, stay healthy, keep smiling. We'll see you again very soon with another untold story. I have few authors in mind, some lovely friends or others. Let's hope we can find some artists. And if you have any lovely artists in mind, do let us know. We would love to know their untold story. Thank you, Baisali, for being the first
thank
one on
you.
this series.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Take care. And I'm going to stop